The boarding gate was chaos. People shuffled, announcements echoed, and somewhere between the noise and the smell of burnt coffee, Lila Monroe dropped her passport. "Damn it," she whispered, crouching down, hands trembling as the pages scattered. Her flight to Madrid was boarding in 15 minutes. The last flight home after a humiliating week. A hand reached down, picking it up before she could. "You might want to hold on to this, Miss Monroe," a voice said, low, calm, confident. She looked up and met the sharp gray eyes of a stranger in a tailored jacket. "Thank you," she murmured, tucking the passport into her bag. He gave a small nod and walked away, leaving her with the faintest trace of curiosity. She stood, brushed off her jeans, and sighed. That was when she heard him. "Lila?" Her stomach dropped. She knew that voice, Ryan Cole. He stood a few meters away, phone in hand, camera already rolling. His perfect influencer grin, the same one that had once melted her, now made her skin crawl. "Wow," he said, stepping closer. "Didn't think I'd run into you here. Still chasing those teaching dreams that don't pay the bills?" People nearby glanced up, sensing drama. Lila's throat tightened. "Please don't start," she said quietly. "Oh, come on, Lila, you dumped me for your principles. How's that working out? You still writing poems nobody reads?" Someone laughed, someone else whispered. Ryan was live streaming this. Her face flushed as the comments started pinging in on his screen. "Ryan, stop it. Please," he smirked. "You always hated being seen. Guess what? Now the world's watching." And then the same calm voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me," said the man from earlier, stepping between them. "Is there a problem here?" Ryan blinked, thrown off. "Who are you?" The stranger looked at Lila. "There you are, love. They're boarding us at gate 12. Lila froze, then caught on. "Right, yes, I was just coming." Ryan frowned. "Wait, love, who are you, man?" The stranger's expression didn't flinch. Her partner. "Is that an issue?" Murmurs spread. A few people recorded. Lila's pulse hammered as Ryan's smugness faltered. "Oh," Ryan said, forcing a laugh. "Didn't think you moved on so fast." "Guess some people rebound quick." The stranger didn't even blink. Some people grow up. Others perform for strangers on the internet. That one landed. Ryan's face twitched. He muttered something and stormed off. The stranger turned back to Lila. "You okay?" She nodded, stunned. Yeah, thank you. I didn't mean for that to—" "Don't mention it." He smiled briefly and headed toward the boarding gate. She watched him disappear into the crowd. Whoever he was, she'd just been rescued by the most composed man she'd ever met. The incident might have ended there, but it didn't. By the time Lila landed in Madrid, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Her best friend, Nora, had left 5 messages. "Girl, you're trending. Like viral trending, search airport hero saves girl. Now." She did. The video had millions of views. Headlines read, "Mystery billionaire defends woman from public humiliation." Lila stared at the thumbnail, her red face, Ryan sneering, and the stranger calmly stepping in. Her rescuer had a name now, Julian Voss, CEO of Voss Air, one of the biggest private aviation companies in Europe. "Oh no," she whispered. She opened her messages. Reporters, gossip blogs, even a morning talk show. Everyone wanted the airport girl. She turned her phone off. But the story was already out. 2 days later, a black car pulled up in front of her small apartment building in Madrid. She opened the door to a woman in a sleek gray suit. "Miss Monroe?" "Yes. I'm from Voss Enterprises. Mr. Voss requests a brief meeting if you're available." Lila hesitated. "Why?" The woman smiled faintly. "To discuss the situation." 10 minutes later, Lila sat in the back seat of the car, nerves in knots. When they reached the hotel lounge, Julian was waiting. He looked just as composed as before. No tie this time, just a navy shirt, sleeves rolled up. "Miss Monroe," he greeted, standing. "I hope this isn't too inconvenient. I'd say unexpected is more accurate." He gestured for her to sit. "I owe you an apology. My PR team insists we do some damage control." The clip made quite a splash. "They think it's best if we manage the narrative together." "Manage the narrative?" she repeated. "I didn't even ask for any of this." I know, neither did I. Their eyes met. For the first time, she saw past his composure. A hint of exhaustion, maybe loneliness. He continued, "The tabloids are making assumptions. They're calling you my secret girlfriend, my fiancé, even my ex-wife. It's ridiculous, but it's also publicity. If we don't clarify, it could get uglier," Lila exhaled. "So what do you want me to do?" "Nothing drastic," he said. "A single dinner appearance, just enough to show we're not hiding anything. After that, it dies down." She hesitated. "And if I say no?" He shrugged. "You're free to walk away. But then the story belongs to them, not us." Lila leaned back, thinking. "You really believe a dinner fixes this?" He smiled slightly. "No, but it might buy you some peace. And maybe me too." The way he said it, quiet, weary, disarmed her. Against her better judgment, she nodded. "Fine, one dinner. That's all." "Agreed." He stood and extended his hand. "Thank you, Miss Monroe." "Lila," she said softly, shaking his hand. "If we're pretending to be a couple, you should probably use my first name." Julian's lips curved into a brief smile. "Then call me Julian." That night, the internet exploded again. Photos of them at a restaurant balcony circulated within hours. Julian and Lila trended worldwide. She tried to ignore it, but every ping from her phone made her stomach twist. Comments flooded her DMs, some supportive, others cruel. By morning, Ryan posted a video titled, "The Truth About Airport Girl." He smirked at the camera. "She's not who you think. Lila Monroe? She's manipulative. Always plays the victim. She's probably using that rich guy to stay relevant." Her chest tightened as she watched it. The likes, the comments, they all believed him. She turned her phone off again, tears burning in her eyes. Later that day, a message appeared from Julian. "Ignore him. We'll handle this together." For the first time in days, she felt her pulse slow. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this. If you're watching this and already hooked, hit that like button right now. It really helps the channel and keeps stories like this coming. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because things are about to get messy. Lila didn't leave her apartment for 2 days. Outside, Madrid buzzed with life, but she kept the curtains drawn and the TV off. Every time she thought the storm had quieted, another notification dragged her back into it. When the intercom buzzed, she almost didn't answer. "Lila, it's Julian." Her breath caught. She opened the door, half expecting security cameras behind him. Instead, he stood there holding 2 coffees. "I figured you hadn't slept." She stepped aside. "You figured right." He handed her a cup and looked around. "You live here?" "It's small, but yes." He smiled faintly. "It's real. I haven't been in a real place for a while." She gave him a look. "Real as in messy?" "As in lived in." For a second, the tension cracked and they both laughed. It felt foreign but good. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face hardening. "Ryan posted again." Lila groaned. "Let me guess. Another lie?" Julian showed her the screen. The headline read, "Voss heiress lover? Airport girl caught in corporate cover-up." She blinked. "Heiress lover? Seriously?" He sighed. "They're saying you staged everything with me for money. My PR team wants to go public with the truth, that we barely know each other." Lila's throat went dry. "So that's it? I get thrown under the bus to save your image?" Julian shook his head quickly. "No, I told them we'll fix this together." "You don't deserve that." She stared at him. "Why would you risk your reputation for me?" His voice softened. "Because you didn't ask for any of this, and maybe I'm tired of letting other people control the story." Something inside her shifted. She saw not a billionaire, but a man cornered by the same machine that was eating her alive. "Then what's the plan?" she asked. "A live interview, together. We tell the truth our way?" Lila hesitated. "You realize that could make things worse, right?" He nodded. "Or it could end it." She studied him for a moment and then said, "All right, but if I'm doing this, I'm not reading off anyone's script." "That's exactly why I want you there," he said. The next day, they sat side by side under the blinding studio lights. Cameras hummed, makeup artists buzzed, and the host smiled too widely. "Viewers around the world have been captivated by your story," the host began. "Tell us, is it true you two are in a secret relationship?" Julian looked at Lila. No secret, just bad timing. Lila added, and a lot of imagination from people online. The host laughed awkwardly. So, you're saying it's not romantic? Julian paused. I'm saying it didn't start that way, the audience murmured. Lila shot him a look. That wasn't part of their plan, but he just smiled calmly. She leaned toward the mic. What happened at the airport was simple. A man humiliated me. Another stepped in. That's all. I didn't expect the internet to turn it into a movie. The host nodded. And Ryan's videos accusing you of manipulation? Lila's voice trembled, but she steadied it. Ryan lied. Because losing control scares him, it always has. Julian reached over, resting his hand on hers. Just for a heartbeat, but enough for the cameras to flash. After the interview, the clip spread faster than the scandal ever had. Millions watched her steady gaze, her refusal to cry, the quiet strength in her voice. That night, the hashtags changed. Lila Speaks and Respect Lila trended. In his penthouse, Julian watched the reactions with a tired smile. He poured himself a drink and stared out at the city lights. When his phone rang, he answered without looking. "Voss," said a familiar voice. "You just made the board nervous." "Evening, Marcus," Julian replied. "Tell them to relax. You defended a stranger on live TV. They think you're losing control." Julian's eyes narrowed. Maybe control's overrated. He hung up before his friend could argue. Meanwhile, Lila returned home to find flowers outside her door. Hundreds of them, from strangers thanking her for standing up for herself. She sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. Her phone buzzed again, a video call from Julian. "You okay?" he asked. "I think so," she said with a small laugh. "For once, the internet likes me." "Not just the internet," he said quietly. Silence stretched. She looked at him through the screen. The sharp, unreadable man who'd walked into her chaos and refused to walk out. "Julian," she said softly, "you don't have to keep saving me." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm the one being saved." Before she could respond, her phone beeped, a notification from Ryan's account. A new post. She clicked it. Her heart stopped. Ryan had uploaded a voice note, a manipulated recording that made it sound like she'd confessed to faking the airport scene. Her stomach dropped. "He did it again," she whispered. Julian's jaw tightened. "I'll handle it." "No," she said sharply. "Not this time." He blinked. "What are you going to do?" "Fight back my way." The next morning, Lila recorded her own video. No makeup, no filters, just her in her tiny apartment, voice steady. "I'm done letting lies define me," she said. "I was humiliated in public once. I won't be humiliated twice. What happened at that airport was real. And if that makes me a villain in someone's story, so be it. But I'll keep telling mine." She ended it with a quiet smile. The video went viral in hours, again, but this time for all the right reasons. Journalists called it raw and fearless. Even Julian's PR director texted him, "You were right about her." That night, Lila finally stepped outside. The city air was cool, the noise comforting. As she crossed the street, a familiar car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Julian leaned out, smiling. "You owe me dinner," she laughed. "I thought I already did that." "Not one paid for by my PR budget." She hesitated, then got in. They drove through the city, lights flickering across their faces. For the first time since that airport, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. When they reached a quiet restaurant by the river, he parked. "You handled today like a pro," he said. "I just told the truth," he studied her. "You'd be surprised how rare that is." They sat in silence, the hum of the city filling the gaps. Then Julian said softly, "If this were all pretend, it would have ended by now." Lila looked at him. "Is that your way of saying it's not?" He smiled. "That's my way of asking if you want it to be." Her heart thudded. "I don't know yet." "That's fair," he said, raising his glass. "Then let's find out." She clinked her glass against his. "To accidental headlines. To second chances." They drank, the city shimmering around them like it was listening. For the first time in weeks, Lila slept soundly. When she woke, the morning light spilled through the blinds, and for a few delicious seconds she forgot about the noise, the headlines, the trolls. Then her phone buzzed, a message from Julian. "Breakfast?" "My driver's outside." She almost said no, but curiosity beat hesitation. The car dropped her at a quiet cafe overlooking Retiro Park. Julian sat at a corner table with a laptop open, half smiling when he saw her. "You look rested," he said. "I look like someone who almost turned her phone off forever." He chuckled. "Can't blame you." They ordered coffee. For a moment, it felt normal, two people just talking. Then Julian turned the screen toward her. "I want you to see this." The news feed showed another clip from Ryan's followers, people confronting his lies, posting side-by-side evidence of the doctored audio. The truth was spreading faster than the rumor. "He's losing ground," Julian said. "People are realizing what he did." Lila exhaled. "Good. Maybe now I can breathe." He studied her quietly. "What are you going to do next?" She smiled faintly. "Go back to teaching if the school still wants me." "I think they will," he said. "Half the parents probably want you to give their kids a lesson on courage." She laughed, but the thought warmed her. "You sound sure of that." "I've learned to recognize conviction when I see it." The conversation turned softer, slower. He told her about growing up with expectations he never asked for, how his parents died before seeing what he built, how success turned into a cage. "You don't owe the world perfection," she said gently. "And you don't owe it silence," he replied. Something unspoken hung between them, something that made her heart beat faster and her coffee grow cold. The moment broke when his phone vibrated again. He frowned at the message. "We may have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Ryan isn't backing down. He's threatening to release private emails, claims he hacked your old account." Lila felt the air leave her lungs. "That's impossible. I deleted that account." "He must have copies. My team says we can pursue legal action, but it'll take time." She stared out the window, jaw tight. "He wants me to panic." "I won't." Julian nodded, though his eyes carried worry. "You shouldn't face him alone." "I won't," she said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. Later that afternoon, she met Nora at a small art studio. Her friend hugged her fiercely. "You're everywhere, you know that?" "My students quoted your video in class." Lila smiled weakly. Fame wasn't exactly the goal. Nora's grin faded. "Be careful. Guys like Ryan, when they lose control, they get ugly." "Too late for that," Lila muttered. "He's already ugly," Nora squeezed her hand. "You've got people behind you now, don't forget that." Back at his office, Julian faced his own storm. His board demanded he distance himself from her immediately. "You're risking everything for a woman you barely know," Marcus argued. Julian's jaw clenched. "You're wrong. I'm risking everything because for once I know exactly what's right." He walked out before Marcus could respond. That evening, Lila's phone rang again. Ryan. She almost ignored it, but curiosity won. "You think you've won, huh?" His voice sneered. "You're nothing without me, Lila." She took a breath. "You're right about one thing. I'm without you." He laughed coldly. "You really believe that billionaire cares about you? He'll get bored." "They always do." "You don't get to scare me anymore," she said quietly. "And when you finally run out of lies, maybe you'll hear how empty your own voice sounds." She hung up before he could reply. Her hands shook, but for the first time, it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline, power. 2 days later, Ryan's final stunt backfired. He posted the emails only for cybersecurity experts to prove they were forged. His sponsors dropped him, followers vanished, and apologies flooded Lila's inbox. Julian called. "It's over." "Not yet," she said. "I still have something to do." The following week, a small auditorium filled with students, journalists, and volunteers. On stage, Lila stood at a podium under a simple banner, the Monroe Fund for Readers. Julian sat in the front row, his expression unreadable but proud. "This started with humiliation," she told the crowd. "But humiliation only wins when we hide. I won't hide. Not from the world and not from who I am." Applause rolled through the room. She continued, "The scholarship behind me isn't about fame. It's about kids who think their voices don't matter. Because I used to be one of them." She spotted Julian smiling softly. For once, the cameras didn't bother her. After the event, he found her backstage. "You did it," he said. "We did?" she replied. "Though I'm not sure how to thank you." "You just did," he said, eyes shining. Silence lingered between them. Then she said quietly, "When I met you, I was falling apart. You gave me space to find my feet. That's more than most people ever do. He shook his head. You were already standing. I just noticed. She laughed softly. Always so composed, he smiled. Always pretending to be. Outside, flashes of cameras reflected off the glass doors, but neither of them cared. Later that night, they walked along the riverbank, away from the crowd. City lights shimmered across the water. You ever wonder? She asked. What would have happened if you hadn't stopped Ryan that day? Julian thought for a moment. Maybe I'd still be walking past people who needed help, telling myself it wasn't my business. And I'd still be letting people talk over me. He glanced at her. We changed that, didn't we? We did. A breeze lifted her hair, and for a second the world went quiet. Then he said, You know, I have flights all over the world, and yet this is the first time I don't want to go anywhere. She smiled. That sounds dangerously close to a confession. Maybe it is. She looked at him, trying to read the man behind the headlines. You really want to know where I want to go? He nodded. Home, she said, but this time on my own terms. He reached for her hand. Then let's make sure you never lose them again. They stood there, silent, while the city moved around them. The next morning, sunlight spilled across Lila's apartment. The world outside had already begun moving on. New scandals, new stories. But for the first time, she didn't care. She brewed coffee, fed the stray cat that had started showing up by her window, and scrolled through messages she hadn't opened in weeks. Among them was one from her old principal. The position is still yours if you want it. The kids have been asking for Miss Monroe. Her eyes stung. She read the line again, then typed back a simple reply. I'll be there Monday. When she walked into the classroom days later, the room erupted in cheers. Small faces beamed at her, waving handmade signs that said, Welcome back. And we missed you, Miss M. She had spent weeks being judged by strangers, and yet these kids looked at her like nothing had changed. That afternoon, Julian appeared at the door with a shy smile and a paper bag. I brought something for your class. Lila blinked in surprise. You're supposed to be in Geneva. I postponed, he held up the bag. Cookies, the kind that make negotiations easier. Her students gasped in awe when they recognized him. Is that the airplane man? One whispered. Julian laughed softly. Something like that. They shared the cookies, and the kids bombarded him with questions. How airplanes fly, if he had his own jet, whether he was her boyfriend. Lila flushed, waving them off, but Julian's grin only widened. When the final bell rang and the room emptied, Lila leaned against a desk. You're enjoying this too much. I can't help it, he said. They remind me what honesty looks like. She studied him for a moment. You came all this way to give out cookies? No, he admitted. I came to see how you look when you're home. She didn't have a clever reply for that. Her heart did a quiet flip, the kind that felt both terrifying and right. Weeks passed. The storm faded completely. The Monroe Fund grew faster than anyone expected. Donors reached out, journalists asked for interviews, and former critics sent apologies that felt too late to matter. But for Lila, the noise no longer mattered. Her life had rhythm again, lesson plans, late-night grading, quiet dinners. Julian remained part of it, sometimes joining her class to read to the children, sometimes waiting outside with coffee just to walk her home. One evening, as they crossed the bridge overlooking the river, she said, Do you ever miss it? The spotlight? He smiled faintly. I used to think that's what success was, attention. But now I think it's peace. And do you have that now? He turned toward her. Only when you're around. She froze, heart pounding. That sounds like something a man says when he's trying to complicate my perfectly stable life. He laughed. You don't want stability. You want truth? And so do I. She looked at him, really looked. The careful posture, the quiet strength, the vulnerability he rarely showed anyone. You're serious, painfully. For a moment, neither spoke. The city hummed around them, distant music, passing cars, the smell of rain. Then Lila said softly, I spent so long feeling invisible. You made me feel seen, but I don't want to depend on that. You shouldn't, Julian said. You built yourself back up. I just watched, she smiled. You're good at that. He took a step closer. I'm better at staying. Her breath caught. Then stay. He did. From that night on, they built something quiet and real. Dinners that stretched into laughter, weekends painting the new learning center for the scholarship program, stolen moments in hallways between classes. Months later, Lila stood again at an airport terminal, this time as a guest speaker at an education conference. The same setting where her life had crumbled once before now buzzed with applause as she finished her talk. As she stepped off the stage, reporters surged forward, but not for gossip, for insight, for inspiration. "Miss Monroe," one asked, "what advice would you give to someone who feels invisible?" She paused, smiling gently. "Don't wait for someone to see you. Start by seeing yourself." That line went viral again, but this time for the right reasons. Later, at the cafe overlooking the runway, Julian joined her. "You've officially outshined me," he teased. "Good," she said. "You needed competition." He slid an envelope across the table. "Open it." Inside was a single key engraved with her initials. She frowned. "What's this?" "The Learning Center building. It's yours now. You've been running it in practice anyway. Might as well make it official." Her eyes filled. "Julian, I can't." "Yes, you can. It's not charity, it's partnership." She stared at the key, then at him. "You're impossible. That's why you like me." She laughed, shaking her head. "You think you know me that well?" "I know that you hate losing control," he said softly. "But sometimes letting someone help isn't losing it. It's sharing it." Her throat tightened. "You really have to stop saying things that sound like vows." He smiled. "Then stop making me want to say them." A plane thundered overhead, the sound vibrating through the windows. They both looked up, watching its ascent into the sky. Julian reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "Do you remember the first time I saw you?" "How could I forget?" she said. "You looked like a man rescuing a stranger, not someone changing her life. And you looked like someone who had no idea she was about to change mine." For a long moment, neither moved. The noise of the terminal faded beneath the soft hum of connection, the kind that didn't need grand gestures or promises, just quiet certainty. Outside, the plane vanished into a horizon painted gold by sunset. Lila whispered, "Funny how everything started because I missed a flight." Julian smiled. "Maybe you didn't miss it. Maybe you were meant to wait for the right one." She looked at him, eyes bright. "Then let's not miss the next one." He stood, offering his hand. "Together. Always," she said. They walked toward the gate. Not running from anything this time, but walking toward everything they had rebuilt, side by side. Two people whose paths collided by accident and stayed intertwined by choice. No fairy tales, no wealth rescuing poverty, just love born in the wreckage of humiliation and rebuilt with respect. If you love this story, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people find these stories. Subscribe for more heartfelt tales every week and drop a comment below.